economic vitality. Those are the Soviet goals, and they just might add up to another revolution. No doubt, however, that the Soviet Union's going through some big changes right now. You can't find a better place to see these changes than on Soviet television. I'm Larry King. I'll take you through this night of Soviet television, showing you the best they've got. Movies, news, game shows, rock and roll, drama, documentaries, and sports. We talked to people on the street about TV. We met some of the young hot producers and directors who create the most popular programs. No doubt about it, the spirit of fun is growing. More pure entertainment. I think you'll feel the sense of excitement that the Soviet feels. On Larry King's Night of Soviet Television. Next. Standing in a long line to get something that we take for granted? Welcome to Larry King's Night of Soviet Television. I'm Larry King, and I have to warn you that your perceptions may be in for a shock. What you're going to see now is a completely different picture of the Soviet Union. The picture that shows them as they see themselves on their own television. Young and beautiful and spirited, confident, and even a little excited. This sample shows the growing liveliness of Soviet TV since Gorbachev came to power. You'll see much more of it later. But to understand what's happening, you gotta know where they're coming from.
На ветру шумят кусты, сохранить их должен ты.
Until very recently, the only thing they heard on their television was the stern voice of their authoritarian government speaking. Formal, colorless, manipulated, and censored. The voice of the Kremlin, government-owned, government-operated. There was a credibility gap that turned off millions of Soviet viewers. Today, Gorbachev and his advisors have great respect for the medium of television. The government understands finally that the old communist propaganda was just too crude, too self-serving. It didn't work.
Hey! Don't follow after us. We're not used to whispering.
With nothing to lose, they decided to try glasnost, Gorbachev's policy of openness. Let it all hang out. More live reporting, more points of view, more late-night television, and more programs that are just plain entertainment.
Television is getting better. Now it's many times better than it was. In Brezhnev times we had such a joke that man looking one program switched on and see Brezhnev in it. Then second program, the same Brezhnev. Third program, the same Brezhnev. He switched fourth program. There is sitting somebody in uniform saying, please switch first program back.
Когда к нам обратились следователи, так сказать, юридические генералы...
Karatich is a man the communists listen to. He is editor of Agoniak, the Soviet Union's hottest popular magazine, and he has the ear of Party Secretary Gorbachev. When Karatich speaks, people listen.
We must have normal television, interesting for our people, interesting for our viewers. That's only reason to have television, to collect people around it and to sell them ideas, your points of view.
Sounds like American TV, doesn't it? But it's not. They have only 3 channels and a local one. They don't compete. They're all government-owned, government-operated. and Soviet audiences are not afraid to say what they think about it.
I watch national television, but still I sense a sort of internal censoring in the programs.
If you look at the sheer number of opinions, variety of tastes, you have to agree that they need to be expressed freely over the air.
Now we have live coverage. Before they would shoot something and then take parts out. Took out the parts that didn't meet with their approval.
I like the programs where people discuss national difficulties. I'm very glad that we have the opportunity to discuss these kinds of questions now and can hope for a better future.
Key to the future in the Soviet Union hinges on a bold new policy which they call perestroika, the restructuring of virtually everything, from Soviet politics to the agricultural bureaucracy. That explains why this documentary, True Man of the Soil, had such a great impact when it ran on Soviet TV.
What do we need all these organizations for? The best way is just the government and the people. That's it. Why should we feed all these bureaucrats? It's just extra expense.
You're putting yourself in the grave.
Each region has its own local television, reflecting the local cultures in startling ways, like this short movie from the Soviet Republic of Georgia, where there are few limits on the creative imagination.
Doesn't this tree deserve to live?
It's going
Fresh air.
I think there should be more entertainment shows for young people, showing all those innovators and so on. It's for a very limited circle of viewers who can make sense out of it. The vast majority don't understand it.
Oh, what can I say? Sometimes the programs, I don't like them so much. In the evening, they show stuff that's not interesting to me at all. In the evening, we need music. People are tired after work. They come home. They need rest to have a quiet evening because everything is problems, 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 and now on TV also.
Music and problems. That's one of the prevalent formulas on today's Soviet television. In this case, marital problems. Problems do make up the main course on the menu of Soviet TV programming, but they're trying to lighten it up. Younger producers are getting on the air now. Their shows have humor, new music, new graphics, and new concepts of what a program should be. Rock and roll in all its multifarious forms is the spice that keeps Soviets at their TV sets. They use music videos to break up program segments the way we use commercials. And since rock was born to bear a message, Russians usually take it quite seriously.
Personally, I like it when the young people from America perform, when they dance, and I like the American films, American jazz. I think that a lot has changed in television. I'm expecting more. I'm sure that those changes will come. I'm certain.
Soviet television is beginning to break out of the carefully controlled studio atmosphere, to meet the people in the streets, and to have a little fun. We will introduce you to the men and women who create the television that the Soviets watch. On television in the Soviet Union, to get closer to them, we went to the Soviet Union, worked with the producers and writers and directors. Okay, Andre, we're going to start right now. You ready? Yes. Okay. We used a video satellite link to interview some of the most interesting people in Soviet TV. One of their top rock stars. A woman whose documentary, Man of the Soil, helped shape the course of perestroika. 3 men who produce an alternative news program that young Soviet intellectuals love. And a correspondent for the most watched news program in the world. What's the biggest change in Soviet television, say, in the since Gorbachev?
Now we are telling our TV audience some positive things about the United States. So now we are more objective.
Before that, you were more subjective because they made you be more subjective?
Yes, of course, of course. You understand, being a journalist, that if you are not allowed to tell something and you tell it, then you say goodbye and go off.
Could you do a show in the Soviet Union where you could have guests on who criticize Gorbachev, criticize the system?
We really just try to show our TV audience that there are a lot of drawbacks in a lot of spheres in our life, in economical sphere and cultural sphere, in the way people live, in housing and a lot of problems. So we cover all fields.
Are the people more appreciative of that, do you think?
Yes, because public is sick and tired of half tones, of telling truth and not telling truth.
Chernobyl as the Soviets saw it on their TV. It's Vremya, the Soviet Union's nightly 9 o'clock news. It's true that Vremya is the only program on at 9 o'clock. Fact is, the Soviets love their TV news. And now that it's a little less censored, a little speedier, and has more live coverage, they like it even more.
What to do with the F-16?
Report from Spain and Belgium.
And the blockade.
Afghanistan, what happened?
It reaches 9/10 of the Soviet population, including that part which does not read Russian. It's the spearhead for getting across the concepts of perestroika and glasnost, restructuring and openness. These are revolutionary ideas central to the survival of the Gorbachev government. This is how the Soviets start their day now. 120 minutes. It's one of the most popular of the news programs, a news and chat show with a lot of personality. It's a huge change from the period of stagnation under Brezhnev, and while many of the changes are cosmetic, the most important ones have been in news. Television insiders like Sasha Krutov still marvel at it.
Today, you can hear things on television that just 5 years ago would have been spoken only in whispers, spoken in private. And those words, those ideas that you hear every day on TV now would have labeled you a dissident then.
Before the current policy of openness, glasnost in Russian, the news that TV viewers got had been processed to death. The government thought it could manage anything. But then, in 1986, came Chernobyl, a Soviet nuclear explosion which blew the lid off government control, hopefully forever. Radioactive fallout was poisoning half the Western world, and the Soviet government was trying to deny it. Glasnost was becoming a joke. Suddenly, everything changed. Sasha Krutov tells about it.
Chernobyl was like a test both for society and for the press. It was a test of all the principles we'd been proclaiming, the principles of perestroika and glasnost. I arrived in Chernobyl 1 week after the explosion, after the tragedy, and my first impression was of a kind of unreality. Unfortunately, information about Chernobyl was very minimal at first. It was basically dry official reports. That's why all the rumors.
Coming up next, a Soviet game show with a stuffed gorilla prize. Television programs, but everyone seems to know which ones are popular. They know that programming is getting better, that more people are watching. It's quite a contrast to a couple of years ago when, by their own statements, television was entirely devoted to government propaganda. Today, they seem to be trying to be more entertaining with something for everyone. A beauty contest may not further the socialist cause, but it probably does help attract new viewers to their 4-channel television network, people who once hardly watched TV at all. And so, a fashion show by the State Sports Committee. Which also brings you sports, a national obsession. Big Soviet games often attract twice the audience of one of the big American bowl games.
Пряхин провел ответную шайбу.
Soviet children get put in front of the tube at about the same age as ours. Good night, little children with Auntie Valya, Felia the puppy, and Little Oinky bring their messages of kindness and generosity and selflessness, treasured communist values. With Glasnost, even sex is creeping into television in a decidedly capitalistic-looking commercial for a new color TV set. There are high culture programs which draw surprisingly large audiences: ballet, classical music, drama, art, folk culture. There are game shows. The most popular is What, Where, When. What, Where, When has the visual style of a rock concert and a pacing that sometimes looks like a garden show. When you really understand this one, it means you really know the Russians. First, the prizes. A full-size gorilla suit. Why not? A case of chocolate milk. This crystal Chotsky. An American board game. And fashion outfits which these beautiful Polish models are divesting themselves of. Questions are submitted by viewers and chosen by chance. The viewer with the winning question gets his picture on the screen. And here's the first question.
Dear guest, before you stands one of the managers of the hat industry in our country. He is a middle manager. He has a middle income, middle privileges, and the quality of his work is somewhere in the middle. Attention, here is the question. What should this manager do if he wants to work less and less, but live better and better? That is the question. You have 1 minute.
Contestants work in teams and often represent foreign countries. Each team has to come up with a single answer.
Number 12, you are first.
Nastya Orlova will answer.
Nastya Orlova, the answer.
We recommend that the manager take the hat in his hand. That's it, take it off, flip it over, and start begging.
Well, you think he'll live better that way?
Our suggestion is that according to the conditions listed in the question, everything is average. His salary, his privileges, then all he has to do is raise his salary. If he raises his own salary and his work remains the same, then he'll work less and live better.
Laugh. Andre's new television program, Jolly Guys, is a Russian cross between the spontaneity of candid camera and the humor of Ernie Kovac.
This program, to use a visual image, is a collage. In other words, a combination of various components, parodies, musical clips, and more.
Kanishev's rhetoric of the absurd is focused on a single topic in each show. He twists images until they do what he wants.
For instance, you can rework some documentary footage, go right into it, and with your own hands change it. Take out one character and replace him with someone else. Change the whole situation. They all flow into each other and intermingle to create what I call a unified video film.
It seems that the world is being destroyed by some abstract person. Can you name even one person who is responsible?
Someone concrete?
I don't know who they are. I just saw them once.
Would you be afraid to name them if you knew?
No, I wouldn't.
I'm afraid. Why should I be afraid? Brukin. That's his last name. Can't remember the first name.
What did he do?
He cut down the tree.
And who did this?
Brukin. 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 Brukin.
Ah, Citizen Brukin. Very nice to meet you at last. There is always some Brukin who cuts down a tree. Don't look for the guilty party, look for all the Brukins. Okay, can you name someone who has helped nature?
Helped? Come on. Everyone. Everyone, everyone.
How much time left to the end?
Well, we have enough cord left for another 10 minutes.
Dear comrades, we remind you that the time is very late, but it's not too late to help nature.
How do you think our show can help?
Maybe some kind of poster saying laughter through tears. The wind whistles through the trees. The one to protect them is you and me. We try to avoid pure entertainment. There's always some meaning behind what we do. People don't always want to think. Sometimes they want to turn off completely. We force them to think.
The Soviet television network is vast. It cuts across 10 time zones, from the Pacific to the Baltic. It has 115 regional television centers, broadcasting in 45 different languages. Few are as ambitious as this one in Tbilisi, the capital of the Republic of Georgia. They're famous for their warmth and humor, and when they tackle the problem of shoddy merchandise, don't look for the seriousness of Ralph Nader. They've come up with a glorified backwards auction in which product manufacturers meet face-to-face with their irate customers.
In today's auction, the winner, if you can call him a winner, will be the person who bids the least amount of money. The items will be given to the manager of the factory from which the item came. And so, we begin our auction.
Man's jacket, model number 736. Made in March 1986, price 47 rubles and 10 kopecks. One of the sleeves is ripped open, and the other one has no hole to put the hand in. And most importantly, you can't put it on.
Why don't you just give it straight to the manager of the factory?
A 2-ruble toy. The wheels are supposed to turn, but they don't. The doll's hair and hat come off when it's not supposed to. This toy is 100% defective, and it went through the inspection of the Georgian committee.
We also have some plastic bags in our auction today. Let's see one. You can't put anything in it. Let's see another one.
The defects, all the drawings on it were supposed to be identical, and the cover is too small. Falls into the teapot. The same with the second teapot. Lot 0941203, price 2 rubles.
Please also exhibit the table from Kutaisi. This table should seat 25 people. But with this kind of wrestling, a man could get a heart attack.
We have a table like this at home. Every time we have guests, we have the embarrassing situation of having to wrestle with it. We hope that as a result of this program, we'll be able to get a better table.
The company was good until the new manager took over. He's inexperienced, makes lots of mistakes, which result in defects in the items. All companies work at about a 30% defect level, but we hope that within a few years things will be better. Thank you, Mr. Podley. Please allow me to announce the closing of today's auction.